The one thing we contemplate too much on cycles is line generation, screen lines, adaptations, and processing. We have to really understand how to go through the regulators, directing inline communication system, how to use our line settings. We have our binary core centers, how to use it, line screen adaptations to its algorithm through its light switches. Now I'm going to show you exactly how a computer works in its own algorithm case through its system. So it's all about understanding how a computer works when you turn it on. Okay, we got into the basic grounds, but the team has to really start recognizing themselves as a computer framing. A direct frame, a correlations frame, a track frame. What I've given you guys, what you already know through memory, is to truly understand how to use yourself your own binaries. Understand how to write and rewrite your own systems. That's the only way you're going to be able to understand yourself through platitude. So let's go through arrow indications and travels. Let's get a direct lines modifications and centers. Okay, so I'm just going to go through code for configuration settings and pattern recognition. All right. All right, so let's get in core centers lines of 2 tractions into 2 batteries. Okay, let's start with that. 2 batteries, right? Setting lines of positive, setting lines of negative. Okay, now understand the charge. One is going this way in position, and one is going this way in position, right? So what does that do? Right? Equals what? What does it equal? Set positions to all levels, line track locations to a light bulb. Light bulb goes on, right? Positive, negative, right? So to indicate that is truly understand how a computer works. How does a computer work? How does it understand its voice and line grid? How does it understand its alphabetical system? How does it go from A to Z to 1 to 2 or 3? How does it change its formation system? It's all through pattern recognition of light switches. Now, if I get one light switch and set position, let's say it's 1, right? Set course centers, line direct signals back into 0, right? Sets course centers back into 2, right? For to 2, it needs 2 signatures settings in positions, all levels of signatures. It needs 2 lights, okay? So it could be positive, positive, or it could be negative, positive. You know, this is higher level frequency, right? So I'm just trying to get you guys to understand the modification system, how this all works through a light switch and a pattern recognition time sequence, how position lines is calculation setting, how you use positive and negatives in line screen adaptations to turn on a light bulb, right? Positive and negative pops the light, right? Turns on the light. Turns on the light, see? Light goes on, people. Okay? So now you have to understand, well, one going this way, one going that way, right? Set of core lines, set core system, coil here, the spring, right? And then you got the spring here in the positive, right? So you notice, I don't think you notice, but you have to, what you have to understand is noticing its position of yin and yang. See? Yin and yang, people. Look, yin and yang, see? When you put that together, you understand what it is. It's a balance, right? It's a balance between the light and it's a balance between the dark web. Light web and dark web. Streaming 1, streaming 2, streaming 3, patterns of recognition, and time sequence. It gets very complicated if you understand that. So if you're adding patterns of a light switch, and you got 2 light switches, right? So let's equals lines of settings in 3 patterns, 3 light switches. Okay? So we got 2 line signals. Sets lines of communication setting into position over its settings of 1 in position, 0, position of 1 in position of 3, 0, 0, 3. Okay, so in that track location system, now we got a direct lines. We got one signal here, and one signal here in 3 panels of direct lines and multi-layers. Setting, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? And that's 0, so that's just one indication going up. Right? If that's set lines of 2 patterns, that's one indication going down in set position, right? So it's like cross location, right? Line signaling, right? It's all essential lines of waves or anything in lines of communication to its system, but you have to truly understand how to work it through core centers, line to computer framing attractions, how you use a communication system to all of your light switches, right? Your transistors and your resistors, transformation, and all calculated modify. Transisting and resisting, right? Resistors, transistors and resistors. Transition, resistion. So reposition, recalculation, remodification, right? So everything is a transformation to a retransformation, right? Direct and redirect, up and down. But what you're doing is yin and yang every single time when you put a light switch on, right? So you're balancing the light and you're balancing the dark. That process, its light code and set position. That process, its indication system of travel and direct signals. That process, its balance lines of communication setting line communicates to its travel, to the grounds, to the powers, and to the atmospheres, all through a battery that travels its position to its location. Inside calculations, all through battery. Okay? But you have to truly understand how that works with the transistors, resistors, your binaries, your algorithms, and how a computer works. All right? All right. Get in that position because you guys have your test today. I just want more lines of calculation, how to configuration, face recognition, and pattern recognition. Knowing the rhythm patterns, knowing exactly how to direct and redirect in one cycle, one center, one surface, one traction. What happens when you turn on your computer? What voice is it picking up? How many transistors are you using? How many resistors are you using? Are you using light web or are you using dark web? Are you using dark web first or are you using light web first? Are you overriding its signal or are you overriding its calculation system? Are you changing the platform calculation setting or are you changing the applications? What are you doing in position lines of travel? Okay, all through transistors and resistors in your binaries of your light switches, right? So you get a 4-line switch, 4 patterns, right here in set position. 4 light switches, right? Now equals lines of 1, equals lines of 0, equals lines of 3. All right, so you have to understand, how did this work? So how do we get 4 patterns in position of 1, okay, point lines of 0, in set position of 3, right? Well, it's all about understanding the pattern, right, in set position. So for example, this goes here, this is 0, this goes here. Okay, get an up switch and a down switch. Up and down, up and down, up and down. And the more you're getting in position of wave. Okay, you're coming into a central wave now, right? Alpha wave, delta wave, theta wave, omega, zeta, zeta, gamma, right? Radiation, line conditions, all levels. Radio signals, line communication setting. Everything is a central wave, a ripple wave, right? A correlation wave, a track wave, a computer wave. Everything has a waving system, right? Through binary. So in that position, you're always using positive and negative. Let's get calculation lines over line screen adaptations over sequence, lines of over lines, screen lines, adaptation setting, line condition setting. Go into mock line screen. Okay, we'll mock the system. It travels in point lines of center, lines of seconds over 1, over seconds over 3, and seconds over 6. In set course centers, line direct signals, arrow indicate lines into all lines of travel in set position. Now, get it into the light switches. You have to understand how it center lines its core system. Everything is a center core line condition system. Let's add an arrow indication system. Direct and redirect. Signify in position going extremely fast to the ground, right? To the atmosphere, right? So it's going faster, faster, faster. Now you can change the modification ground lines, high center interference. Now change the waving system locations into alpha, delta, theta. Alpha, delta, and theta at the top, right? So you got an alpha, you got a delta, and you got theta. Higher level of the sequence, right? Higher level of the tone. Direct and redirect. Everything's a redirect, even a satellite. Found the position, right? So now you understand how this all works now when you get it into all lines of process communication lines into light switches in track location, right? But you start off with the light switches through pattern recognition, right? Positive and negative. So light switching, basically, it's kind of like setting lines. Let's go from A lines. Let's get A line position of B in position of C, D, and E. Let's start with that position, right? A, B, C, D, E, right? So we go through an alpha tone ground lines, high core centers into radiograph screens, lower frequency. Okay, that's an A track, right? Let's go through a B-line center. It's in balance communication lines to a beta wave in set position levels. Crossing line signals in set position, right? Cross line signal, right? Now, understanding communication setting into line core centers of electronics sets lines of communication grounds the echo chambers, a core line communication setting and configuration system, all through setting. Now, the process calculation system is how you basically put a C line core centers, line connection setting, C lines of E factor, set position lines of factor over lines of DX lines of 1, core lines of E lines of patterns into lines of rhythm and track location settings of tone, equals lines of box, and equals lines of triangulation of flux and set position. Now, we just have to truly understand how to use the central lines of waves and set position location of a system. Knowing exactly how to do that through the light switches of patterns, light switches and settings, all right? So let's get into box frequency lines, okay? So it's important to understand that. So we got a light switch here, 1, all right? Light switch, so you turn it on, right? Turn it off, right? Spark here, okay? So this is on, okay, this is on, and this is off. Okay, on and off, right? So when your finger goes like this, it goes off, right? That's one singularity, okay? One, okay? One light switch. Now, to add a pattern, you can do this, right? 1 crossover 2, okay? 2 crossover 3, 3 crossover 4, 4 light switches, right? Now, platitude line screen adaptation is processing to 1 battery and 1 traction. Now, directing line signal line communication setting is processing communication setting when it comes out levels of communication lines of pi and generation. Now, to understand how to use that information system, you go through the line coordinate centers, lines of 1 equals lines of 0, alpha, delta, and theta. Theta can go down, theta can go up, theta can go anywhere it wants in frequency. Low frequency, okay, and vibration are 2 different things of factors over pi, guys. You understand if it's a low spectrum, but it's very force recognition system, has protection lights and screen adaptation to its surface, it's recognizing anything in line screen adaptation to its processing, right? So come into that position of light codes or line communications of dark web. Directing lines over cross locations, over rhythm, over pattern, over directions, or line communications to its setting. But it's all recognition and how you use your light switches and how you speak, how a computer speaks. All right, you have to identify that through your binary. All you're doing is understanding the light switches of patterns. All right, it's like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Right? Just rhythm, tone. Very important to understand what a computer does. Right? So it's opening up its light switches, it's opening up its pattern, it's opening up its binary, it's opening up its algorithm, it's opening up its mind, it's opening up its iOS, it's opening up its computer frame, it's opening up its traction location, it's opening up its voice. All through computer, right? Through pattern recognition and face recognition. But you have to truly understand how this all works. Okay, through direct and redirect. Right, so that's all you're doing is putting an on and off switch, right? That's what it is to a computer, right? So the computer is more powerful, right? It's interesting how you come into the conceptual location of its concentration of its awareness. So as soon as you turn off your computer and you go to sleep mode or recharge, the computer is more smarter because it's in its own operation system now. So when you get up in the morning and tractions, your computer is with you now. In your frequency. So you have to understand how it comes into your setting lines that communicates to its system, but recognizing its own pattern of its own recognition of its own binary, its own operation system, puts you in all lines of communications of balance. All right. So directing lines of pi, directing lines of 1 in position over 2, over cross lines of 3 in traction. Okay. Sets calculation lines of center, set position lines of operation surface and track location measured. Okay. Scales balance course centers of center. Line direct signals of platform. Now it's a higher lines of structure and division location setting of 4 platitudes in set position. Process calculation lines of 1 cycle and 3 set position of travel. Okay? Remember, always seen on a 4 different angle in set position. Right? So to recognize these guys, it's true to say that a computer operates its patterns. Okay, this is how it operates as patterns. Setting corresponding lines of 0, 0, 0, 0 around the system of spectrum. Okay, clocking system as center or anything operation service. 0, 0, 0, 4 zeros. Set position of 3 over 4. 4 equals lines and light switch. Okay, that's white switch from position lines of settings into 4, lines of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 tractions. So 4 equals lines of 13 in track locations. Okay, so knowing the clocking system of 0, how a computer operates a system when you turn it on. Now it understands where you are in consciousness, where it is in modification system, a space modulation setting. Let's course channels lines of 0 over tractions in 2 track locations. Directing symbolism line course centers of laser track lines over operation cycle. Over platitude line screen, over line screen adaptations of process lines of triangulation of flux, over screen lines adaptation calculations. Directing signals of modification, now they're change line rotation. Bringing in calculation to its setting. Okay, so see a computer on a 4 angle, see a computer on a 6 angle, see a computer on a 12 angle, see a computer on dimension, see a computer in multi-dimension, see a computer on mega dimension, see a communication high level cycles and line communication setting. Setting lines of communication settings flux over screen and direct signals and modification center travel. Okay, change it again. Okay, in set position. Okay, so you're constantly getting a continuous flow of patterns. And all you have to do is basically understanding how to use it through the ground centers of 0, the ground centers lines of 2, or the ground center lines of 1 in set position. And again, you change it again, and this is what it looks like in travel, in set position. Okay, all through computer, right? So when you turn on a computer, it's like you have a screensaver, you know? It's doing this, right? And as soon as you basically get into reset, their sleep mode, or that position locations, that settings, you're changing the waving, you're changing the pattern, you're changing the synchronization, you're changing the position, you're changing the binary, you're changing the algorithm, right? See what I'm doing? I'm doing this with the motional systems, and my hands are moving in motion line, core centers of travel, all through duplication, setting, and communications, right? All right, so coming in that line screen adaptation system, understanding how to use your binaries and your traffic, your inventories, gets you to bit understanding how to use a computer when you're turning on a switch. So you get a light switch. Let's see a panel core centers. Let's get position lines of travels and direct signals. Okay. All right, so basically it has an on switch and has an off switch, right? So this is on, this is off. Okay, see how it's direct and redirect? Now, when it goes faster, this is what you create. You create an actual portal. You're creating a highway. So when I turn on a switch and I turn it off a switch and I go back and forth really, really fast, it's creating a mechanism lines of travel into a traffic inventory of a flow. So it comes in a sequence lines of this, and this is what I created in set position to its operation surface and travel. All through a light switch when you turn it on. Okay, so how many light switches are you using? Let's use 3 lines of flux, battery relines, and 3 travels and point lines of graphic communications. Flux capacitor, set position lines of settings into a light bulb. Okay, so that's what you're doing. You're just turning the lights on. Now when you turn on the lights, light switches come in. Now light switches are basically, they're divots. They're like this. These are light switches. It's complicated stuff, but it's like a traffic inventory flow, but it has line communication, looks like bumps, right? But those are light switches. So you're changing line screen adaptation alpha, right? Set lines of delta, theta, or omega. Okay. Cross and symbolism and crossover connection settings of laser track position, or anything of indications. Waving lines, graph communications, road graph, screen lines adaptation units, processing, ground center lines of 1, inhibitors over 3, over 6, over 12, setting lines of 3 track location lines of provision and cycles. All right, sending communications, sending to travels, indirect signals and modification, ground center lines of 1, over cross lines of 3, and travel in point lines of graph. Okay, and again, you turn it at a 45 angle. So it's really interesting. If you look really close, you can see the intelligence with its antenna. That's it. And then you just, there it is. Yeah. And you turn it in, everything's a light switch. Everything has to be a light switch. That's how lights work. So you have the positive and negative, the transistors and resistors, and you're using your light switches now. How many light switches do you want to use? Now you get in that position, let's start lines of A, B, C, and overcross, D. There you go. See? A, B, C, and overcross a D, right? See how my voice changed? So it's A, B, C, D, 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 over, right? Rhythm patterns. Planets only respond in position locations, audio mechanism lines of screen adaptation and echo lines. The core line provision lines to its cycles, lines of screen adaptation to its surface. You had a planet line screen. It's getting position locations and setting in Pluto, right? 3 lines of course centers and line communication setting, right? Process lines of signals into modification ground centers of 1 travel, 1 position, 1 location, 1 calculation, all through Pluto, right? Now that's synchronized in how many lines of light signals of lines of light web communication interference of dark webs and travel endpoint lines of graphic instructions that comes into all of its schematics and lines of pi and generation screen lines adaptations into all levels of communications of transistors, resistors, binary to its algorithm setting, all through zeros and ones. All right, so line setting, line rotation interference, 0 lines of travels in point lines communications inside setting. See the X3000 inside, right? It's right inside. See it, right? Now, when you get into pattern recognition, you're coming into the matrix line core, which is coloration. Okay, now you're really starting to see it now. Coming into the blue, you start with that line screen adaptations, and you just take it out through equation. It comes out, right? And you put it back in, right? But see it on the 4-eye angle. See a different line position. Right? So it's getting to know its travel and mechanisms and its high settings, all in different angles in travel. Okay? All in different angles. All through its transistors, all through its resistors, inside position locations, right? Because computer operates its system from inside. And understanding the rhythm and the patterns and the light switches, then you understand rhythm tone. It's like chimes, when you basically get in position of music or anything at indication system. So it's truly understanding the rhythm. It's understanding the tone. It's understanding the mechanisms. It's understanding the audio. It's understanding how you communicate to your voice, how it goes up and then how it goes down. So when it goes up and then when it goes down, when it goes up, it goes down, direct and redirect at the same time. And the faster it goes, is creating. And then you get 2 panels of operation inside, right? So that's what it is. Light switch here, light switch here, light switch here. There's a lot of light switches. Okay, now you can go in space in between, that's totally fine. But at least you understand what a planet does if it offlines its communication setting to surface. Now, see that through a measure, through a ruler, and a line communication. So this indicates the divots, ground center lines of 1 and earth lines of travel, transits over screen, over direct lines of modification. Okay, now we divot the screen lines adaptations. If you look really, really close, you can see the triangulations, right? Triangulation 1 and set positions, right? And change it again. Sets lines of communication system and travel. Okay, through its calculation, right? So that's how a computer works in an angle point. It has pi lines and course centers, lines of travel, lets point lines of graph into panels, into wire circuits in position location to its system, all calculate modify. Let's direct the signals in crossover lines, directing lines of music tones, and screen lines adaptation to the flux that calculates the voice line grids and line conditions of transistors and resistors and travel communication. This is all through audio tone of a computer, right? So when you're in line screen adaptations and creating anything through an anomaly, through a website, it's creating its own design. It's creating its own structure. It's creating its own platitude of what you get in position of and setting through its operation set position. Okay? And you switch it around. Look what you get. Okay? So there's a lot of things you can do through graph screens, indirect signals and modification to a cycle. Okay, and again, change it again. See it in all different angles. It's very powerful stuff. All right, so when you get into that, you get into levels, that's line signals, back in line communication system and travel all through platitude, through a light switch. How it goes on and off, right? So we start off small. Let's get at direct lines of one divot. Now, understanding divots, okay, is understanding signature lines. Okay, think of this as spaceline graphs and spacelines anomaly in set position. These are wire indicators of resistors that transits its settings to its planet surface. That owns all sequence and line screen adaptation to its processing and communication setting and travel. Just that. That's all it is, right? Now, understand how to put this all together is understanding this from a lot of light switches. So when you get into lines of truth and false narratives, you're trying to understand how to use your connection setting to your quantum self, how to use your calculation system to your thoughts, your actions, and your emotions, right? This is all central line settings. If we turn this up like this, you can see what I'm saying in face recognition and pattern recognition, right? So I'm going to get a face line, indirect signals, and modification. It's inside. See? It's inside, right? Inside the actual system. Now, the break conversion line has a line signal. That line signals the line communication setting that puts lines of 3 tractions in division. 3 line communication setting to travel. Okay, that indicates lines to the connection system to your lobes. Core centers lines of travel in your cerebral cortex line, your hippocampus, and the realms of communication that goes out line signal locations and modifications of TV frames and traction. Okay? So I'm just showing you examples on so many levels of what a divot is. The line screen is inhibited system, line connection setting to its oculars, getting core lines of tractions and direct signals into modification setting to your patterns. So we go back in the light signals, light switches, 2 batteries in the line rotation, start core centers, direct and redirect. Start with the basics, right? This is on, this is off. Okay, so this is indicating on, and this is indicating off. On and off switch, right? But you understand why it's on a 45 angle, guys. Okay, because you're looking at yin and yang. So what you're doing is you're crossing line signals. You're coming into time sequence, okay, and you're creating core line settings into the levels, infinity 8 rotation, flywheel tractions, into your set lines of calculation setting to travel, in direct lines of grounds, powers, and the atmosphere line screen adaptations, your Merkaba tesseract, and your tetrahedron communication. Okay? So all you're doing is you're traveling through the battery, and the battery's traveling like this. Okay, this is the battery here. Once you turn on the light switch, this is what it comes into. Okay? On and off. The faster it goes, the more it travels, faster and faster through its system. That's batteries, right? So this is on, this is off, right? So all this is one. Direct and redirect is one, okay? So there's no separation of anything in travel, okay? Through you want pattern recognition, face recognition, or anything in that configuration of code recognition system, or code configuration system, or binary cortex, okay, to your codecs. So it's trying to understand how to use that in modifications, right? So the faster you go, this is what you're creating in set position. This is going fast, this is going faster, this is going really fast, and this is going extremely fast in track location. Right? So understanding that once it gets in position, they come together and travel, direct and redirect. Okay? And when they come together, they create an anomaly of yin and yang, a process communications on a 45 angle that puts 100% position location and capacity in set design. Turn it this way, then you can really see the platform. Okay? See? Let's bring it in. There's the platform. Okay? But all seen on different angles. It's very important. Very important to see it on all different angles of yin and yang. So when you're turning on a light, that's what it's going right away in set position. And calculations. Okay? So you have to understand the light switch, okay, is basically It's kind of like light bright. Okay, the circuitry board line, of course, center line consists of divots. Okay, these are the light switches. Okay, those are the light switches. All right. Now, once you understand light switches, you have to understand how to put them all together: income placement, screen lines, and mapping, sequence, and screen adaptation, process calculation to its setting, getting lines of graph and communication. See, indicate core line calculation setting into face recognition, setting direct signals into modification grounds and center calculations. So puts all communication grounds, information cycles, and track location, right? Then you come into laser line colorations over cross locations, but it indicates all platforms of communication laser attractions, directing all communication to patterns of recognition, all through travel, right? So the more you understand this, it gets much easier. Okay, just the basic grounds of pattern recognitions, face recognitions, a code configuration system, binary communication setting. Coming into that, then you understand the binary. Now the binary is basically understand the coding, which is encoding, decoding, decentralized, centralized. You have to decentralize and centralize first. So you're decentralizing the communication setting the binary, resetting position lines of codes back and set position calculations, going direct and redirect. But direct and redirect is one cycle and set position of its operation, right? Opposite tracks, right? So it just comes together. They come together. They're never separated. So this comes together and this comes together, okay? And then you see it coming together in set position. That's how a computer runs its own system. Okay, very fast. And direct and redirect, and all symbolisms in track location. Okay, look at that. Okay. So the more you keep going, the more it gets easier through time. All right, let's change it again. There it is. Right? So it keeps going and going and going and going and going. Rhythm pattern, light switches on, light switches off, but it's going. So the atmospheres are, and you're moving the clouds at a certain frequency, setting lines of communication graph, communication grounds, sets communication line, position location of powers, sets communication lines, high correlating line, position location, magnetic high line communication setting, just cerebral, or anything cortex at design line. Again, change the formation ground, set location to its setting. Right? Change it again. Okay. Right? So it's amazing how it creates its own platforms of communications, but when you bring it in, you bring in the track of the inventories. Okay. And when you bring that in, you bring in traffic inventory flow, where you want to put them in set position. Right? It's amazing coming into that traffic inventories through all those indicates your narrow links, narrow pathogens. So when you bring it out, you see it through track locations, that's the traffic. And that's what's coming in when you basically are looking from above, from below, right? There's the traffic, right? So there's a lot of things that you can do in settings and signals. It's amazing when you come into pattern recognition. But I just wanted to show you how powerful it is to see it all through light and track locations of patterns, your light switches, and understanding through pattern communications and all those attractions to your binaries. You set a binary tone line and track location setting alpha, delta, theta. Setting communication grounds alpha, delta, theta. Alpha, delta, theta right there, right? Alpha here, delta here, and theta here. Right? Now if you look at it on a different angle, you can see it on this. If you look at it at a different angle, you can see it like this. Looking at a different angle, you see it like this. And its equation. Okay? So I'm just showing you guys know center charts, communicate settings of platforms or anything in that lines of communication system. Basically how to see it on post, understanding that, like it's true to understand how to see yourself in your own binaries of your own transistors, resistors, understand how to use, transmit and receive information, your transistors and resistors, and how to use that. But it's very important you understand how to reframe, recalculate, remodify, retriangulate. So when you're turning on a light switch, right, what you're doing is you're changing the formations of its grounds. You're changing the powers, you're changing the atmospheres, you're changing the highways, you're changing the mechanism lines that cause centers to your earth and travel right away in sequence. So basically, you're changing you in frequency. That's all it is. You're just changing frequencies of light. Are you adding signatures of binary cores, or are you getting into codecs? Are you getting into a higher line position locations in alpha? Or are you getting into a low frequency line position of beta? Or are you going into high line division locations of mega? Or are you getting in track division lines of cycles of zeta? Or anything through higher core center lines of gamma? Or anything line direct signals and radiation? What frequency are you line communicating with through your binary and your cortex that changes every information system, because the frequencies never stay the same, right? So when you turn on that light switch and you turn off that light switch, you have a direct and redirect view. So you turn on a light. So you turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. And the faster it goes, the more you speak faster. And when you speak faster, you speak in rhythm, you speak in tone, you're speaking balance and set position, a percentage, and set calculations of 100 track locations of yin and yang. Right? It's amazing how we come into that setting, because that's how you turn on a light switch, is set position through positive and negative. Right? So understand more lines and ground lines in that position location system than your same location lines of travel. How it comes into its own structure, of its own design, of its own mechanism, through its primer, right? And its circuitories and its location system through its primates. Prime circuits, anything the circuitry line course centers it travels into balance of ground centers line to its operation surface and communication to its system. This how it rises your settings, know exactly how to use your binary. And every time you're using your binary and every time you turn on that light switch, you start with this line communication, you just start with this. So we start with the black, that's on, right? That's core lines in blue, setting lines of communication, that's off. Let's go into red, okay? That's on and off. Right? So what you're doing is you're putting two colors together. So that's two light switches into one. That's configuration. So if you understand the configuration, the coloration of patterns, then you understand how to put the colors together. So if you ever took chemistry, then you understand mixture of patterns. Right? When you come into anything through the schematics lines of screen, or anything through hydroponics, understanding the mixtures of plants, understanding soil, understanding the earth, the air, the water, the fire, how to mix things together, okay, through code configuration, modifications of pattern recognitions. Colorations of pathogens puts all lines of communications of balance in your system and travel, all through track locations, right? For example, if we indicate lines of green arrow and we indicate lines of blue arrow in set position, right? What is green and blue mixed? Huh? What is green and blue mixed? Let's find out. Green. Okay, and position locations in blue. Okay. Now, you have to truly understand how to mix the patterns and direct signals, because one color is never the same color. It's all colors all at once, and it's all tractions, all division locations to its system, all through calculations. Right? Setting lines of communication setting. Let's get in colorations of patterns here and direct signals. Getting in that position. Okay, light switches, change course, centers of travels. Okay, get in that position locations. Instructions. Okay, red. Coming into that signals is known to modify the cycle, regenerate the communication screen lens adaptations of color or pathogen, line screen adaptation of surface. But I'm just trying to show you guys exactly how this all works through a computer when you get into color now, because now you're getting to coloration tone. Okay, modifications, you get into graph tones. Gets more easier once you understand how to put chemistry together, right? When you mix things together, okay? Because color has sound, color has everything that you can imagine. Color has, you never see a color as the same color, okay? Color is all color of blue, all color of yellow, but it's all different mixture patterns of yellow, all mixture patterns of blue, all mixture patterns of purple, right? So when you put it all together, it blends into the system location of travel. Get you more modification lines or direct signals. Helps you and always informs how to identify this in line communications. And that tracks it. This helps you in line screen adaptations and processing. Get you into balance and how to see different lines of coloration. This shows you in all lines of information system how to put it all together through your light switches and line communications pattern. All through binary, all through transistors, resistors, your light switches. How a light bulb turns on. How a light bulb turns off. So, understanding the transistors and the resistors, then you understand it deeper how to use your atoms and your molecules, your protons, electrons, and neutrons, and your photons. It's all inside you. You just have to understand how to use it through binary. And the more you understand it through binary, the more it gets easier. Okay? The more you understand your algorithm, the more it gets easier through iOS. Your initials, your operation, your systems, your computer operation setting. What does it mean to you? How is this going to benefit me? How do I see myself as a computer? How do I see myself turning off a computer, right? It's no difference that when you close your eyes, computer basically is in sleep mode, right? So your mind's always open and never sleeps, right? So you're just constantly recharging. Your body needs recharge. It's operation system. Your mind is a constant, continuous flow that never stops running its system. But you have to understand why the body needs to be in sleep mode, why it has to be in recharge, or why it has to be in remote. So when you get into higher lines of communication setting, you come into more your holographic system now. Now this becomes all lines of how you use yourself in pixelation, all through TV setting. Okay, coming into that set of locations in pixelation. Let's get into green. Okay, color it in green. Okay, let's get into red. Okay, remember this is all pixelation from a screen of a TV up close. All right, let's get into gold. Okay, so all you're doing is putting color together, and when you put it all together, my goodness, it becomes extremely powerful through your holographic structure that you guys are set position your foundation grounds and how to use it information location setting through TV receptor and track location, right? Just a TV. Understand the position location to its grounds, its powers, and its mix location. Okay? Let's see from the colors. They mix all those colors together, right? You're getting color sound tone, right? So you're mixing the patterns, your galaxies is going to different colors, right? We go into lines of communication setting that travels and directions. Get in that communication. All through this indications. Okay, there's so many ways of looking at your computer framing and direct signals, okay? Okay, this is a lot of Fibonacci line swirls and traction and direction. Okay, pattern recognition, color recognition, coming together, line sequencing, line screening, line direct signal modification, changing all formations. All right, it doesn't look like much, but when you bring it in close, you can see the design, right? So, and you bring it in more, you can see more design. Oh my gosh, it's creating its own clocking system. See, bring it in more. See? Travels on its own setting of its own matrix location of travel. Okay? Change the direction. Okay? It's like Doctor Strange, isn't it? Trying to understand it. What does it all mean? It's hieroglyphics. It's on a global scale. But you got to see it on whole lines of different angles and set position location to its setting. How everything does its own system of travel. It doesn't need to paint a picture. It knows what it's doing. Through its own binary, through its own transistor, resistor, light switches, guys, through its algorithm. I'm just showing you exactly when you create something, it knows how to create its own system. Okay, it knows how to create its own shape, its anomalies, its tractions, and its division location to its setting. All through track location. Okay. But look at it. It's pretty amazing when you look at it. Okay. A lot of Fibonacci there, isn't there? Right. Then you just add equations. Right? Doing this in triangle. Coloration here. Oh, got coloration there, right? Then we go into blue. Right? And then we go into red. Now this overlines the sequence in the same color. So it's really interesting. And then when you get into that position locations, you change the position. And then you change the position. Right? So it travels on its own. And set calculations. Right? Travels on its own, see? So any color that you change, you're changing the binary that's changed the position of point lines of traction. Green. And line communication lines, highest interference, pink. In set position. Okay? Change it again. Change it again. Change it again. Right? So the faster it goes, the more it's creating its structure of holographic pixelation, anything in lines of plasma and direct signals. All through calculation. Okay? And you can change the color inside. Right? So when you blend them all together, look at the color it comes into. See, it illuminates the graphs and changes all colorations inside position. See? Color changes. That's what I'm trying to get you guys to understand these things. How this all works in your simulation, your hologram. When you bring it in, you can really see the color. See? It's wild. When you turn it, it's amazing when you see it on different structures at different design lines. Off the graph. Okay? Doesn't matter what color you add, because it automatically changes its structure, design. See? Okay? Bring it in. Bring it in more. See? See what it creates? Creates its own structure, creates its own line screen, creates its own system and travel. Okay? Okay? Overlapping sequence, guys. Overlapping sequence. See? And you keep going, then you come into mass, then you come into volume, then you come into longitude, latitude. See? See? See the structure? You can see the ground, see? See that? Bizarre, isn't it? It's wild. And then you go into, well, you go into blue. Go around the system. Look at that color. Look what you can create, right? Bring it in. Bring it in. Bring the color in. Whoa. Let's bring in another angle. Look at this. See? All through coloration of its own system. Okay? Okay? Everybody understand that? Looks like a woman on the beach. There's the beach. There's a woman suntanning. See? A lot of things you can do in set position lines of travel, guys. It's amazing stuff. It's absolutely fantastic when you just know exactly what you're doing through a T reception setting, the location of binaries and transitions or resistors. Know how to use that in all formation lines of color and bringing it together in travel recognition in set position. Right? And it changes its drawing, changes its structure. Look at it now. Oh, we got Lemuria. Whoa. You bring it in. That's what you do with color. When you're at a faster speed. Once you understand how to turn on and turn off your computer, this is what you come into. All mixture patterns all into one of direct and redirect. Okay? All in setting through operation. Okay? Just change the angle. Okay? Bring it in. See? Change it again. Bring it in. See it on all different platforms, guys. That's a true understanding how this all works. Okay. So that's good for now. Inline screen adaptation to its cycles. We got a core line communication setting and travel communications. See you guys in Q&A.